Alright, what's up, guys? This is my temporary intro. Bad excuse for one. But yeah, I thought the clips were cool. Anyways, today we're gonna be going over a fractal that I have a lot of conviction in currently. I'd be happy to hear some opposing opinions, maybe why they think it's not accurate, whatever. This is the this is the current beat that's playing right now. This is this guy's song, and it was the beginning of his video too, so check him out. I'll leave the playlist to all the beats that I use for this video in the description too, since yeah, I get asked a lot about that. So, a little bit of background on me. The best I've ever done in trading was by buying spot, and it was in the 2021 bear market and bull. I was buying all of this, and I even bought a little bit of this, and that's where I started to learn that maybe I don't know everything. Cause yeah, I mean, you can imagine how euphoric I must have felt with this kind of move, 135% move on Bitcoin, and I didn't even call Bitcoin. I called things like Luna at $4, at $20, Sol at 15, at $20, at 40, at 60, AVAX at 15, 20, and 40. A lot of the L1s, the gaming coins too. Um, I called Mana, I called Sandbox, and granted, I didn't know the Facebook stuff would happen, but I for some reason felt like pretty excited about the idea of digital real estate, and people were spending M's on digital real estate. And I know it sounds crazy, but go into it and just play around with it a little bit, and I think that you'll be able to see the merit, even if the technology is not where it needs to be yet. Games like Illuvium have made a lot of strides, and Illuvium is at yearly lows, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, I called pretty much the majority of the L1s and some of the gaming coins, and I wrote all of this. That point in time and this point in time started to feel so like reminiscent. Like, I don't remember what it was, but I just felt like a deja vu or something, and specifically because of this. So we break out of this, what is it, like 70 days, I think it was 77 days of consolidation. That was our bear market. Keep in mind that the global macroeconomic environment is favoring up only at this time, so the moves are going to be a lot more explosive. They're going to be a lot more condensed. You can see that this is a lot more spread out than this is, and that's a big reason for it. But specifically in this area right here, I remember a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's over. We're going back to range lows, and we're gonna take out these lows. We're going so much lower. It's over." I at the time was feeling a sense of euphoria, having just armed myself with the knowledge of what different crypto coins do, what they can be used for, how I can profit off of them, and I was just enamored by a lot of it. So I was picking up all the coins I thought were really good, and I had some basic understanding of TA and price action, and it did kind of help. But to be honest, I know a lot more now, and if I knew here, if I knew here what I know now, I, I would have made it. I wouldn't be here right now. Would have been long, long gone. But yeah, so when this was happening, it just felt so much like when this was happening. People were saying that, or that it, at the very least, to the EQ, right? And that, I guess that part makes sense. But yeah, I just remember that. I remember the sentiment on crypto Twitter. I remember people telling me I was crazy for still buying, that I should have just made my money and left. Wrong. You test the consolidation, you expect that it's gonna bounce. And this one, how could, like, I don't know. I mean, I get it. We were at a major level of resistance, but 280 days of consolidation with this down here. And that was consolidation under the range, and we retest it and people want to get short. Like, this is like literally one of the cleanest SRs I've ever seen. I'm honestly surprised that it played out because of how obvious it was. And here it's kind of much of the same. So with that being said, let's get into the fractal. I'd like to draw your attention to this big pile of mess. I know it's a lot, but stay with me. We come down, we set a low, we make a deviation above this weekly high, we come back down to the range low, we deviate, get deviation B, we move back up into the EQ, we deviate it all the way back down, deviation again, we get the breakout, right? And then we take out another weekly high, we deviate above it, deviation E, retest the consolidation, the original consolidation, boom, gives us a nice reaction, nice wick, and then we move all the way up to deviation G. Now deviation G to me is what just happened on our charts, and I'll show right now. But then we get deviation H into the last leg up, deviation I, where stocks crash. So we kinda don't know if that was really like news influenced it. The stock market crashing brought Bitcoin down. So if I just take the fractal levels off very quickly and I show you that I measure these moves, they are relatively accurate, and I'll even go as far to chart the pullback, measure the pullback. I guess you could say that we didn't get, well, we did actually, but it was a much smaller pullback this time around. But yeah, there we go. So in reality, BTC could have went higher, we don't really know. It's 69k is a bit of a rug in my opinion. The fact that it stopped there, I don't know. But yeah, and another thing I want you to take big note of, up there at deviation G, let me just hide some of this so it's easier on the eyes, hopefully. Alright, there you go. Deviation G happens. We violate this previous weekly high, deviate it. We set a low, and we create what? A weekly fair value gap. If you don't know what a fair value gap is, learn it. It takes 5 minutes of your time. Don't be lazy. Just go do it. We pull back into it, and we get our last leg. Now remember that, because that's significant, okay? So now let's look at fractal B. We come all the way back down. We get our first violation, deviation A. Come all the way back down for deviation B. Now that's going to be the first difference that you notice with these fractals. Deviation B is a wick, whilst deviation B on this side is more than that. It's a long accumulation under the range low. Now, why is that different? Well, this right here represents the collapse of FTX, and so we have a black swan event. Deviation B becomes a lot more drastic and is forced below the range lows, but ultimately does come back above. So that's gonna be the main difference you're gonna see with this fractal, is deviation B to deviation C. Deviation B happens, then we go up into the mid-range. We deviate at the mid-range. To me, it wouldn't make sense that we have this entire consolidation at the range low. We don't have a consolidation. Everything is so much more rushed at this point in time. So we get a wick instead. So would it make sense for it to move into the EQ, then reject, and come back down here one more time? It's tough to say. It makes more sense that there's more fuel in this thing because of the accumulation that took place here. And thus, that's why we move much higher. Deviation B to deviation C. And so from deviation C to deviation D, deviation D now takes place at the EQ of the range as opposed to back at the bottom of the range. And I explain that by the collapse of FTX. Maybe it's cold, maybe I'm trying to make it fit my bias too much, I don't know. You tell me. I'm happy to hear some opinions conflicting or not. So from C to D, we run all the way up to E, and we deviate again. I mean, I could have just mapped this one out instead. It's a deviation nonetheless. We come all the way back down to deviation F. So E to F. And remember, E to F, we are retesting the original consolidation. E to F, testing the original consolidation. Big move up into deviation G. Big move up into deviation G, right? We took out this high, deviated below it, and now deviation H. Let's look at where did deviation H happen. It happened right here. That's deviation H. Where did it happen? Weekly fair value gap. Deviation H. Where would it take place at? Weekly fair value gap. Pretty cool, right? Whether you agree or not, you have to admit that they do look similar. And if you don't think they look similar, I've taken the liberty to map this out for you. Okay? This is the 2021 bull run. This is what we have now. So again, do these look similar to you? We have the deviation at the top, deviation at the top, deviation lower, rejection at EQ, deviation lower, didn't make it to EQ and instead dropped below, and we get 6 here. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Or actually, do I have it mapped out like that? Let me see. E to F. Okay. Ignore the numbers and lines for right now. It's a bit difficult because I don't really know how to use ghost feed, and ghost feed gives like actual candles as opposed to this whatever this black thing is. But yeah, so if I remove all of this, maybe if I map it out right now. Honestly, I've already spent so much time on this. I don't want to spend more time. Alright. Sorry for wasting 10 seconds of your life. Alright. So, to me, it looks pretty similar. I'll be honest. I mean, deviation at the top, deviation below, 2 deviations below. We had the rejection at the EQ. Well, we didn't make it to EQ there. Yeah, I mean, it just looks very similar to me. We push up, reject, move up, reject, test original consolidation, and we move up and we pull back. Now on this fractal, I didn't include what happens after deviation G, which is this right here. So the piece that I didn't capture in those two fractals is this. So there is another run up here, and I did that because this is G, H, I. I happens here, but we already know that that happens, right? But it doesn't happen here yet. So with that being said, where can we expect Bitcoin to go based off of these fractals that I'm presenting to you? Well, a classical technical analysis technique that has served me well. Measure the moves. Don't really use the wicks, just use the candle bodies. But look at how accurate the legs are. Even the legs down are just about the same. Come back up. So yeah, they're pretty similar. So with that being said, let's measure the most recent legs. Pretty accurate, if you ask me. So in order to measure this next potential move, we need to know where we can expect Bitcoin to pull back to, right? And deviation G, it pulls back to what? The weekly fair value gap. Now, I've been saying for a good while that the weekly fair value gap, it's just been so reliable. Wick into it. Not really a wick, but move into it. Big reaction, right? So would it make sense for us to do it the exact same way as in fractal G, where we set the low and we get a quick wick, bang, we're off? Because you have to remember, with markets like this that are trending upwards, they're going to give you less and less of a chance to get in. The longer that this thing goes on, the less of a chance you're gonna have to get in. It's gonna be more aggressive, and it's not gonna give you the entries that you want. Now, I picked up this little trick from a YouTuber and Twitter guy named Crypto Chase. Super recommend that you watch his videos. I don't follow a lot of guys' content like that and actually watch it myself, but his is particularly good in my opinion. So I saw him use the quarter fib when mapping out these weekly fair value gaps, and the weekly fair value gap thing I got by myself, but using the quarter fib to measure where we can expect that the pullback would take place, that's the using the fib trick, that's certainly from him. And so what he said was, notice the reaction specifically in the quarter part of the fib, which is the blue area of the fib, the blue shaded area. Very, very reliable. And so what, from 29.5k to 28.8 roughly is where I'm going to be looking for a pullback. Now, with that being said, when do we get that pullback? It's tough to say what Bitcoin's gonna do here specifically. The reason I think it's hard for me to read what happens in the shorter term and how long it'll take for that idea to come to fruition, where we do come sweep these lows and tag the fair value gap. Notice how where I anchored these horizontal lines to, this high and these clean bodies that are almost symmetrical. They look really clean, right? Notice how this weekly close respected it. Candle bodies only inside this area. When I see that, typically when I see areas like this, I know what's gonna happen, and it's gonna be chop. And I'll show you a good example Right here, what did we have? Disgusting chop that is going to. It's called chop for a reason. It's chopping the people that don't know how to trade. They're getting antsy. They want to get a move. Um, Maybe they thought this was low, and both sides are just being taken out relentlessly before the big move down. It's engineering liquidity essentially. Um, and so that we're getting the same thing here. Now, I do think that this doesn't last longer than 2 weeks. I would expect a move by then. Um, so yeah, and we're up. Remember, guys, we're up against the biggest SR flip that BTC has ever attempted. I think very very strong level. So if we do break out and we do only pull back to the quarter part of the fib, where does that leave us? Just shy of 33k. After after that, the same thing could repeat again. We get a big candle. It creates a fair value gap somewhere in here. Uh, kind of drift down into it. Bang! You get your SR test. If it bounces and it breaks here, I mean that's looking really good, and we could just end up measuring the exact same move again. We'll probably end up in here into 37, and for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be a bull unless this were to happen instead, where we do break above and then we come back down. That would be a really really ugly sign. But I will feel invalidated that a bull market is coming once we lose this level. If we lose this level, and by lose I mean a close under it, a weekly close, then yeah, then I'll know I was wrong and I'll have to sell my spot bags at whatever they're at. Um, but until then, I am very bullish, and not only because of the fractal, but um, if you look at a Bitcoin halvening chart, every 4 years there's a halvening. Um, I think I had one earlier. Let me see. Yeah, let me just find one real quickly. There you go. Alright, so the vertical lines are signaling when the halvening takes place, which is every 4 years roughly. Now, why are halvenings bullish? I mean, we can see what happens, right? The halvening takes place. We have a big bull market followed by a multi-year bear market. I don't really care about accumulation, expansion, accumulation. I care more about the bull market, bear market stuff. So, big bull market, then we get our multi-year bear market. Same thing repeats. Same thing repeats. Same thing repeats. And in 2021, the exact same thing happened. Um, and so why is that bullish? What is even the halvening? Essentially, when Bitcoin miners mine Bitcoins, they will sell it on the open market. Usually, not a lot of them are in the business of holding. They won't. They're large-scale operations. Don't think that this is some teenager farming on his laptop or something. These are big buildings with lots of hardware, lots of graphics cards. Costs a lot of money to do it. Um, Around every day there's about 900 bitcoins of selling pressure because of miners, and so when the halvening takes place, those rewards are cut in half. Therefore, the selling pressure is cut in half. So in theory, if demand remains the same and the selling pressure is cut, that should equal a bull market, right? So the next halvening that's taking place, it is subject to change, not by much, but April something 2024. So until then, we have approximately 287 days, and every single one of those 287 days, even after, for the next 12 months, I'm going to be accumulating high conviction alts, with my biggest bag being Sol. It's not gonna be Bitcoin. It's not gonna be Ethereum. Trust me on this. Sol is gonna outperform Ethereum and Bitcoin too. I think. Um, it's just gone down so much, and it will, to me, what ETH is to BTC, Sol will be to not ETC, Ethereum, ETH. It's gonna be the same thing. Solana will be that to Ethereum, which Ethereum is to Bitcoin. In my opinion, it's the poor man's ETH. I will never get that out of my head. That to me is what it is. And so that's what I'm gonna be trying to get the biggest bag of, and then the other ones will be filled with more riskier um, investments, so to speak. And probably I'm gonna get Ethereum too, not Bitcoin, but I'll have some Ethereum too, just in case, barring any major setbacks, or I don't know. So yeah, if I were you, I'm gonna be sharing the majority of my spot plays only in my Discord. I'm gonna share some of them here on YouTube too, but those guys have supported me. They've supported the indicators. Just a chill community, and I'm very grateful to those guys. So I want to make sure that they eat well. So I still need to finish this up. These are some I'm thinking about. I'm kind of looking at different levels. Sol should definitely be number one in here, but if you're lucky, you get this weekly gap when BTC pulls back. If BTC pulls back, would make a lot of sense for a rejection here, pull back into here, continuation. You do the exact same thing on a lot of your favorite alts. Matic was one I had been looking at. Check this out. Weekly fair value gap. Come on, let me get it, man. There you go. So now might be a good time to get Matic, to be honest. I was waiting for something lower. I was looking at this daily gap, which I think we already tagged, and it had a pretty decent reaction. So I might have to look for like one of these order blocks down here or something. But yeah, I mean, pretty decent reaction off of that. 20%, not bad. I think it's 40 if you count the wick. Yeah, just about 40 if you count the wick. So yeah, guys, that's the fractal. That's what I'm thinking about BTC right now. I'm looking in here. Once we get in here, I'm all game. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get some bags in here. Worst case scenario, I think this is about the EQ of the fair value gap, and that's usually a place where price likes to ping off of. I think the lowest we go is here. It's possible that we do come back and test this. I seriously doubt it, but I mean, I can see how it would get a lot of people very spooked. It would buy us some extra time for the ETF news and having to get closer, stuff like that. But yeah, let me think about if there was anything else I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I think we're just gonna keep chopping here. I don't want to play around with this. I just want to see these lows taken. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's do this thing already. Give us that next leg. But yeah, guys, those spot bags I'm not planning to sell unless we lose the levels that I talked about. And yeah, I hope the video helps. Hope you guys like the fractals. If you guys have any questions, if you're looking for a chill trading community that have some indicators to help out, super free with, like, you have a question for me, I'm gonna explain to you how I got to where I'm at. It's a good feeling helping people, especially in like the 2021 bull market. I remember calling all of the L1s and stuff like that I got a lot of really nice messages after that. So yeah, hopefully we can run it back, and this time everyone can be on the ship. All right, then, guys. Talk soon. Peace out and safe trading.